I am a farmer and a Christian. I am 19 years old. I was on my third pregnancy, and this time there were 2 of them coming. I knew that with twins, I needed to be more careful. I went to the nurses for care and kept their schedule and recommendations. I ate well. I was careful not to work too hard on the farm. They gave me pills and I took them. They wanted shots and I let them. They told me to 1, 2, 3, and I did 1 and 2 and 3. So why did I give birth prematurely? In my 7th month, I had severe pains in my belly and my back. I tried to lie down, but the pains got worse. I got up to go to the toilet, and I saw bright red blood running down my legs. Something was wrong. I had done everything right, but something was wrong. I went to the facility, and I showed the nurses my blood. They took me to maternity, and my 2 girls were delivered quickly. Akinyi was 1.2 kilos, and Patience was 1.1. When they did not cry, I knew they were not well. The nurses took them and got them to breathe, but I could still hear them gasping for air. They put them in a plastic box, and tubes were inserted in their nose. They were so small, so strange looking. Were these even my daughters? I couldn't breastfeed while they were in the box, so they started losing weight. They were disappearing before my eyes, like grandmother dying of old age. But they were just my little babies. As I sat there, I thought, why us? Why me? What had I done wrong? I did everything right. They are better now, thank God. God is good. Still small, but they are here and not disappearing. Feeding and holding them was quite difficult at first, but I am learning, and we are well.
My name is Rita. I was 30 years old when I delivered my baby preterm. At 28 weeks, I started to feel a tightening in my stomach. It was painful. I wasn't due for my next clinic visit, but I was worried, so I went in. They examined me and told me that I was starting to open and could have a premature labor. I began to panic. I didn't want my baby to die. They told me I needed to stay in bed and let my uterus relax. I laid in bed for 3 weeks when the tightening returned. I got out of bed to walk through the pain and saw green liquid on the sheets. I knew this was not right. I rushed back to the hospital and was told I was about to deliver. Within 2 hours, the baby was out. They said she had a low score and needed to go to the newborn unit. I, of course, said okay, but my heart hurt as I watched them walk away with her. Would I ever see her again? I started to feel dizzy and weak, and then I saw black. When I woke up, it was 2 days later. They told me I had bled a lot and had been taken to theater and I would be okay. All I could think about was, where is my baby? They took me to the newborn unit. The nurses told me that she wasn't breathing well and had an infection of some kind. They were kind to me. They taught me to express my milk into a cup and let me hold her while we fed her. It was strange at first, but she started to take it, and I could see her getting stronger. She needed her mother. She needed me. We stayed there together for 2 weeks. With the kind nurses helping and caring for us, we were able to go home together. At home, things were different. Sarah, that was what I named her. She wouldn't feed, not at the breast or from a cup. And expressing milk became so painful. My breast became so large and hurt all the time, and Sarah just wouldn't eat. She started to look weak and couldn't look at me. I knew something wasn't right. I went back to the hospital, and the nurses told me that Sarah had a fever and had lost weight. They told me we needed to stay. I felt they were angry at me for letting her get sicker and smaller, but I had tried so hard. This time we were sent to the normal pediatric ward. The other babies were big and healthy, not like my Sarah. The nurses were not kind and never seemed to have time for us. They just kept saying, "Make sure you feed her," but without offering any support. They looked down on her for being small, as if they thought she'd never survive, so what was the point? On the 4th day, she got diarrhea. On the 6th day, she was gone. I was so alone. My baby was gone, and I was so alone. My family was there, but they were like distant people, blurred and making sounds that I couldn't hear. All I could hear was Sarah. When it was time to bury her, my family did not want to pay for the burial. They said she was too small and hadn't really been a baby anyway. Why had I named her, they said, when she was too little to laugh, too little to know who I was? I didn't care what they thought. My husband and I and our older son buried her together. She was a baby. She was real. She was my Sarah.
There's this one story I always tell when talking about kangaroo care. We were in this facility. I remember it was raining hard. This woman comes in to deliver. She delivers 2 tiny babies, preterm babies. They were less than 2 kilograms each. We taught her kangaroo care, which is when you keep the baby warm against your chest all day. Your warmth becomes their warmth. Your breath becomes their breath. You keep that baby close. She took to it positively. She was like, "Let's do this." So the babies were discharged, and the mother continued as we taught her. And then after 2 months, when she came back for mother-child health, she carried one in the front and one in the back. When she saw me, she cried, "Sister, look at your babies." "Who are these children?" I asked. "You don't remember these babies that you put on kangaroo care?" She laughed. Now one is 3.6 kilos and the other is 3.5 kilos. This thing works. There are cases that stay with you, the good and the bad. Here I am talking about this one from 20 years ago. When a woman comes, she delivers well and goes home with a healthy baby. That is everything. That is why you do what we do. In my 7th month of pregnancy, on the night of the 16th, I woke up to go to the toilet. I started to feel pain. I was feeling so much pain, but it was normal pain, not labor pain, so I went back to sleep. When it dawned, I went to plow the farm. I plowed back and forth across our land. At one point, I felt warm liquid running down my leg, like I had passed urine, but why would I be passing urine now? I took a break and went inside and saw that it was not urine, but blood. I was bleeding, and I was not yet due. I left the farm and went to the health center. They examined me and told me that my cervix had dilated. They told me that I was in labor, but the baby would be too small and could not be seen there. The circumstances forced them to refer me to another hospital. They tried to put me in an ambulance, but money was required. I didn't have it, neither did the hospitals. A nurse said that he would come with me, and we rode the public bus together to the large hospital. Once there, they received me well. They told me to register and take a seat. A few minutes later, the nurses came over and said, "Who was bleeding?" I looked down and saw a pool of blood around me. I am the one. They attended to me and gave me some medication and assisted with delivery. I delivered safely and saw my baby boy. But the baby boy did not cry. In the process of attending to him, I heard them say, "It is like this baby has a problem." They took him to the nursery. I didn't see any problem with him except that he was exhausted. According to me, I saw that the baby was okay, even his breathing, but yes, he was so exhausted. I was told to express milk and to feed the baby with a spoon. He was so small and too weak to feed at the breast. They put a tube in his hand, which I think was for the blood transfusion, but maybe it was just water. They put medicine in the fluid. They said it would help him, but after a few minutes, he still wasn't improving. I tried again to express milk, but when I went to look at him, he had already died. I really don't know what happened. I thought he was just healthy. And when I used to go for antenatal care, if they had told me that there was a problem or if I'd had an infection, it would have been good if they had informed me earlier. I would have done whatever they told me to, but there was nothing. And there is nothing now. At dawn, I plow the farm.
I was already a mother of 2 children. My previous deliveries also came too early, and it was no different with this one. My pregnancy had been well, then suddenly my water broke. I was rushed to hospital and progressed to delivery. She was 5 months and weighed 950 grams. I named her Angela. The first weeks were frightening. My baby was so tiny and had difficulty breathing. She was on oxygen and kept turning blue. I was told she had a 50-50 chance of survival. I am unmarried. Getting pregnant outside of marriage, plus all these complications, made my mother very unhappy. But I confess that I did not have time to think about my mother's feelings. I was just caring for Angela. I wanted to ensure her survival chances were more than 50-50. While at the first facility, I heard about the practice of using my own body to keep the infant warm and immediately asked the nurse about it. They said it was not an easy practice, but encouraged me to try. It gave me back and chest pain, and bathing and sleeping for myself was difficult. It was just me. There was only me. But wow, it was the best thing that happened. Holding her close like that saved her life. She is home now and gaining weight. To me and her older brothers, she is our greatest joy. I was pregnant with my second baby 5 years after the birth of my firstborn. On my 3rd month of pregnancy, I started having hiccups, feeling uneasy, tired, and nauseated. I was unable to eat and could only drink water. At month 4, I had high blood pressure. At month 6, I developed severe pain and difficulty passing urine. At month 7, I had the urge to push the baby out. Accompanied by my husband, I delivered my bundle of joy, Elijah, weighing 2.4 kilos. But the joy was cut short when he did not cry and turned blue. I learned that during delivery I had fainted, and the baby had to be removed through manual evacuation. I was told he was stressed during the long labor. His eyes had turned yellow. He developed mouth sores and was taken to the newborn unit. There were 10 other babies who passed away there, but Elijah survived. At home, he turned maroon on the 3rd day. We brought him back to the hospital, and he convulsed when we got there. He was admitted and put on treatment, including injections. The nurses noticed that his neck was weak and unsteady. He was unable to support himself. He had tantrums and would cry in great anger. We were discharged a month later and referred for specialized care at the occupational therapy unit. I am fine, though questions still linger. I do not understand the reason he was born early. I asked God questions. Why did he have all these issues? In certain moments, I even asked God to take him so that he did not suffer anymore. With therapy, Elijah's neck has strengthened, and he has begun to recognize us when we talk to him. My husband is so proud and is there every step of the way. I am blessed by him. Elijah has his special chair to support him when he sits, and we give him vitamin D every day. Little by little, we see him improving. Sometimes we even forget that he is different. Then someone will say, "Your boy is so old. How is it he cannot walk?" Then it all comes rushing back. He is disabled. He is not well. Having a child with special needs requires endurance, perseverance, and sacrifice. But he is still my bundle of joy. And I am fine.